Good morning. This video is to go with the last two. If you listen to those and then you listen to this one, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK as proclaimed and gazetted on the 1st of January 1901. It was proclaimed and gazetted as an enabling act, enabling us to have a constitution, and we have one based on this. And the first part of it says, whereas the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, humbly relying on the blessing of Almighty God, have agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and under the Constitution hereby established. Now, people have said, because we joined together under Great Britain and Ireland, and that is the authority. The Crown is the authority, not Great Britain and United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland are not the authority. They exercise the authority of the Crown. In British law, that's God. So any variation from that is nonsensical. Now, it says down further, be it therefore enacted by the Queen's most excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Lords Spiritual and Temporal and Commons, in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same, as follows. This Act may be cited as the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act. The provision of this Act, referring to the Queen, shall extend to Her Majesty's heirs and successors in the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. It shall be lawful for the Queen, with the advice of the Privy Council, to declare by proclamation that on and after a day herein appointed, not being later than 1 year after the passing of this Act, the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, and also, if Her Majesty is satisfied the people of Western Australia have agreed thereto of Western Australia, shall be united in a federal commonwealth under the name of the Commonwealth of Australia. But the Queen may at any time after the proclamation appoint a Governor-General for the Commonwealth, and she did so by letters patent, a reciprocating one which isn't used, which means we don't have a lawful Governor-General. Now, the issue I'm referring to now, the Queen Victoria, by proclamation, added Western Australia just before Federation to the new Commonwealth. Why it's not on this document is because this document's here, and I believe the document itself proclaiming that was in transition. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Western Australia became part of the Commonwealth and they have ignored it. They put in a false constitution, and when you look at the rest of it, now you go to clause 6, it says the Commonwealth shall mean the Commonwealth of Australia is established under this Act. The states shall mean such of the colonies of New South Wales, New Zealand, Queensland, Tasmania, Victoria, Western Australia and South Australia, including the Northern Territory of South Australia, which is part of it, as for the time being are parts of the Commonwealth, and such colonies or territories as may be admitted into or established by the Commonwealth of States, and each of such parts of the Commonwealth shall be called a state. Original states shall mean such states are parts of the Commonwealth as established at its establishment. Under clause 7, the Federal Council of Australia Act 1885 is hereby repealed, but so as not to affect any laws passed by the Federal Council of Australasia and enforced at the establishment of the Commonwealth. Any such laws may be repealed as to any state by the Parliament of the Commonwealth, or as to any colony not being a state by the Parliament thereof. 8. After the passing of this Act, the Colonial Boundaries Act 1895 shall not apply to any colony which becomes a state of the Commonwealth, but the Commonwealth shall be taken to be a self-governing colony for the purposes of that Act. The Constitution of the Commonwealth shall be established as follows. That's not the point I'm trying to make, so I won't go any further with that. This is the Act as proclaimed and gazetted, which authorises us to have a Commonwealth Constitution and have a constitution for this country. Now, every politician that joins a political party has stepped outside of that constitution. Every judge that administers law has stepped outside of that constitution. Every magistrate has the same problem. Every public service or servant has the same problem. Every police officer has the same problem. There is an oath contained in this Act which is a requirement to be a servant of a majesty. If you're not a servant of a majesty, you have no authority. You cannot create a company, which is what they've done. ABN numbers on every single public utility. They've stolen them, put them into Foreign Agents Registration Act of America, US Department of Justice, as foreign agent government entities, and they bring them back into this country under the Corporations Act, Section 51, subsection 20. And they think they're smart. They think they've got around us, they've got around the Constitution, and have done what they wanted. And to an extent they have, by force. And the clowns who want to come on here and start mouthing off at me and saying, I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong, I'm correct. The Constitution says what I'm saying. If you want to be a public servant or any representative of the people who are the Commonwealth, what you have to do is you have to swear the oath to the reigning monarch. That is law. Irrevocable law. I don't care what the professors say. If they say other than what I'm saying, they're lying. They're not just joking. They're not just having a little say in this or that, and they can't go into Parliament in a political party and then stand up and represent us. You cannot commit an act of treason against the people and then say you represent us, because you don't. You don't. You have to be selected from a pool of people. Chapter 1 of this state statement. That pool of people is put together by the governors of the states. And it's those people, you select one person for each house of the state parliament. One. There's no electoral boundaries. I just read it. There's no boundaries. When the colonies become states, the Boundaries Act doesn't apply. And you can't have it. You can't quarantine because Section 69 says so. It's handed to the federal parliament. That applies then. Why aren't they stopping people coming in this country? They're blabbing now about this new disease in China. Well, if you stop people coming from China to here until that's sorted out, there's no disease, is there? All you're doing is lying, misleading and deceiving. But it goes further than that. Halsbury's Laws of England, Volume 2, at 284, around there, it states clearly, to do what you're doing is an act of treason. It's a felony treason. The penalties are listed in there as death by hanging or transport to the colonies for life. There's no more colonies. You can't get transported from here to another colony, so the first one applies. But moreover, what all of you are doing as political parties, and all you judges, everyone, when you walk into our courts and you haven't sworn the oath of allegiance, you're lying and completely disregarding our Constitution. This Act, and it states clearly, is the supreme law of this country. High Court's ruled it. You think you can ignore it? And clowns like so-called professors say, oh no, if it's not in there, we can do what we like. No. This is the parameters set. In other words, a parameter, in case you can't comprehend that, is the boundaries. You can only pass a law inside the authority granted by this document. That's the only authority you have. If you propose an amendment to this, it has to be a slight alteration to correct anything that's wrong with it, or to add something that the people will agree. It has a process under 128. There goes your Australia Act, your Request Acts and everything down the toilet where they exist, where they come from. That's where they come from. It's all garbage, rubbish, human waste, not even that. But again, you won't listen. I put on a thing, go in there and try it. Don't, you just get your name struck off and then take your papers home and get rid of them. And people queried that. All right. So there's the only way you can do it, the correct way, which is what I intend you should know. And that is notify every single one of your local politicians, write a letter stating, you people are waging war on the people of this country. Our Constitution is being disobeyed by you. To do that, and without following our Constitution, is war on the people. You are a traitor, and that's all there is to it. If they take you to court, the very issues before the court prove they are traitors. Who are they? Joe Blow of this party, you went to his office or her office and said, you're a traitor. You're committing a war crime. You don't have to prove anything. Them sitting in under their acts and statutes and rules and regulations which have no authority in law, because no crown, no right, no authority. What they're doing is going in there and lying to you, and if you don't do what you're told, they penalise you. Who told them they could pull you over when you're driving along a road normally? This is a perfect example of their treachery. You drive along the road normally, minding your own business, not doing anything wrong, and you come up to all these flashing lights with a bunch of dills sitting all over a highway or a freeway, blocking it so they can check if you may or may not have had something to drink. It's not their business. It's not their business. But if you don't subject yourself to their little breathalyzer, then you are charged with driving under the influence. If you're driving under the influence, what are you driving under the influence of? Figures on a piece of paper. They don't have any alcohol level. Do they have the right to enter your body in any way? No. No drug tests, no blood tests, no nothing. It's different if you have an accident. Don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning drink driving, I never would. But if you are going to pull people over with no reason, poke something in their mouth, you've entered their body, that's rape. Did they give you permission? No, you're forcing yourself on them. And if you don't, of course, you volunteer, Kate Gallagher would say, because you let them do it. You're a nutcase, Gallagher. Get a brain. You're a war criminal in this country, like every other politician. There is no opposition. How can you have opposition to people that represent the people? Are you nutcases altogether? Yeah, I was just doing my job doesn't cut it. That's a fact. You're still a war criminal. Every single one of you have to be war criminals. So what I suggest people do is make a list of all the politicians in your area. Put it up on YouTube, BitChute, whatever you can find to put it up. These are war criminals in the Commonwealth of Australia. Your local politicians, they don't like it too bad. I don't care if they're your friends, uncles, aunties, wives, husbands, whatever. If you go back into that parliament and front up as a politician and haven't sworn the oath contained in our Constitution, you are a war criminal. And if you put it up there, they can't leave the country. They have to be arrested by anyone outside. You're war criminals. You're terrorists to this country. You've proved it. The Commonwealth Criminal Code says to use an experimental vaccine on the people is a terrorist act. And you've done it. And now you're trying to wriggle out of it saying, oh, look at that. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars do the people owe for fines? Nothing. Not 1 cent. because you had no right to find them. You had no right to go near them. Was it for the better good of this country? No, it wasn't. Go back to the start of this pandemic crap, lies and fraud. There was 3 ships wandering around. They sent them from the eastern states to here in Western Australia. What for? So they could say it spread here. Well, did it spread here? We don't know. You're saying I don't believe you, nor does anybody else. Or most people don't. What was it? It was a flu, a very bad one, or some other thing. But it was not COVID. It wasn't. The TGA said so when we filed the Freedom of Information. I did a video on it. You can take it off 1,000,000 times, but it doesn't change the fact that documents from the TGA said they've never isolated it. I didn't say it, they did. Adam Steele, why can't we just start making citizens arrest? If you do that, you're going to get locked up yourself. Don't even go down that road. Look at this road. Notify every politician they are war criminals and put it out for the public and send it to every country in the world. There's a list of the war criminals in this country. They can't leave this country and go to another country and hide anymore. They have to go to jail because they're war criminals. They are war criminals. When they put you in before a court, have you sworn the lawful oath? No, you're a war criminal. Wayne Stuart Martin on the 21st of June 2011, contrary to this, sat in the Supreme Court of Western Australia. How long did he sit there? 14, 15 years. They still recognise him as, the Honourable Wayne Stuart Martin. No, the Honourable Lying Fraud. You admitted, when I asked you, have you sworn the oath of allegiance contained in the Constitution? You said no. And I said, why not? Because I don't have to. Actually, to sit in the position you are, this document here says you do. Says you do. Now, who's excluded from taking the oath? The clergy of the Church of England, no one else. That's all. The clergy of the Church of England. Everybody else, look up the Imperial Act which applies under the Colonial Laws Validity Act. It's 1 William and Mary, and it says everybody, every public servant. We are a self-governing colony of England under Clause 8 to the Constitution. We didn't give you permission to change that. Yeah, Tony Blair was found guilty of war crimes in a court in Malaysia, and he could not travel outside the Five Eyes countries, or whatever that is. Sorry, Teresa. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, of course he was found guilty of war crimes. Every politician in this country are guilty of war crimes. Every judge, don't matter where they sit, every magistrate, every lawyer that goes before the court under an oath to the bar and not the oath to the reigning monarch is sitting in treason, and they're war criminals operating, pretending to be officers of the court under an unlawful act. The act is not law. There's no lawful governors to sign off on it. Never has been. Western Australia, nothing in this state has ever been lawful in the way of laws. And because you only had 5 of the 6 states that were lawful at federation and still are, and all the rest have removed their constitutions, there's no federal parliament, there's no federal laws, it's all lies. Whitlam was a filthy dog traitor, so were all the others. Not just him and his own. It was a conspiracy to commit treason and overturn the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK and the British Parliament. That's exactly what they did. They are alleged to have, but they don't have the authority. Nobody in this world can benefit from crime. No one. So every single thing every politician owns is subject to us taking it on behalf of us, the Commonwealth. Everything. And all these clowns that think they've got more rights than everybody else in this country, you don't. It's whereas the people. While that Constitution sits there, you have no more rights than us. We granted the native population in 1967 exactly the same rights as us. Why don't they have it? because the greedy, thieving, lying politicians took it off them. That's why. And stopped them getting it. Why did they do that? They have no authority. Adam Steele, state and federal police are also traitors. Yes, they are. But do you know they're all Commonwealth police? They're employed by the Commonwealth, either at state level or federal level. The High Court will tell you the politicians of the states are not officers of the Commonwealth. What did they tell you? They told you they're traitors. If you're an officer of the Commonwealth, this requires you, no matter where you are, to swear the oath in the Constitution. Means then you become an officer of the Commonwealth. Commonwealth public officer. In your capacity as a police officer under colonial law. Imperial law. It's right there in front of you. But you're not looking at it. The federal police don't exist. They're Commonwealth police or they're nothing, because they're employed by the people. State police are Commonwealth police. They're employed by the people. Politicians are Commonwealth servants, employed by the people, there to represent the people. They aren't. They're not doing a darn thing we've asked them to do. They're required by law to follow our Constitution. Yeah, Anthony Andrews, we no longer have a justice system. It's more like how much privilege you have. No, how much money and how good the liar is who's representing you, or what the magistrate says. They just ignore the law. When they say we're no longer under that system, they're lying. They're admitting to being a war criminal, to overturning our Constitution. That's a war crime. Doesn't matter what anyone says. Yeah. Scotty Barr, that's why citizens' arrests don't work. I agree with you. The Royal Commission into Suicide was a total farce, yeah. Now all the politicians are pedophiles and war criminals. You people think you can go and sit in our parliament in a position of authority, all your courts. You still think you have the right to decide whether somebody has committed a crime or not. No. What gives you that right? The Crown. And you don't swear allegiance to that. So all you do is you take your little notes, you call acts and statutes, which are nonsense, they're garbage. Just scribble on a bit of paper and say, we've got the right to do whatever we like. Illegal use of legal entity in purporting public officers, illegal trading of the person, securities, all of that is all proves what I'm saying. They are war criminals. They're traitors to our Constitution. They owe an oath of allegiance to this. And if they don't uphold that oath they owe, it's not what they want, it's what they owe. An oath to the sovereign, the reigning monarch of England, under our Constitution. It's not if you want to, it's you have to. So if you swear on the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or anything else, you're swearing an unlawful oath under 44 of the Constitution, you're incapable of sitting. If you enter to a court to sit on the bench and your oath is to the bar and you haven't rescinded that, you're sitting unlawfully. You have no authority to sit. No crown, no right, no authority. That's it. There's no way around it. So I'll leave you with this, because this is a lovely one just for the new year, and all you people that work for the Department of Community Services and Child Protection, you're all working for companies, you're all traitors. Every single one of you are traitors. What says so? Our Constitution. I was told I don't know the law. I know what this says. This is the supreme law, and any of your so-called laws that don't fit with this don't exist in law. So you can say what you like to the loudmouth pig that talked to me that day and said I don't know the law. That's fine. You can have an opinion, but you're wrong. The way you spoke was like a dog instead of a human. You failed to identify yourself. It's all on record. We've got it all. Just means you people are liars. You people are traitors to this country. You people have waged war on this country. You're war criminals. Every single one of you. Hear that, Albanese? Dodgy Roger Cook? You think you're so smart? You're a war criminal. And guess what? Every single one who is a member of political parties that helps these peanuts get into power are guilty of the same crimes. But you have an option. Pull out. Take everything off them. Leave them with nothing. Leave them with staggering around waiting to be locked up for life for crimes against the people. That's what it is. I have to reveal indictable offences. There's a big heap of them. The main one is treason and war on the people. That's a war crime because we're not in a war. You are bound by our Constitution. You breach it, you're going to jail for life. That's treason. I don't care what anybody says. There's no time off for good behaviour. You spend the rest of your life behind bars. Your choice. Get out of where you are. Don't go into Parliament. You go into Parliament on a political party ticket, you're committing treason. You can... Yeah. All right. I got notified of something, but that's okay. I'm not interested. The fact is, every politician, judge, magistrate, cop, the whole lot, lawyers, the whole lot of yous are waging war on the people because you're not following our Constitution. You understand that? And someone says Trump is not on our side. I don't care if Trump is on our side or not. We are on our side. We the people are the Commonwealth. Doesn't matter if you are native to this country originally or native by birth. You are native. You're indigenous. You have no say in it. You had no say in it. What are you going to do? Kill us all and throw us over the edge of a cliff? Wake up. Who's paying your wages, your money you want? You just want more. You're not getting it. You're not. Look after your sacred sites, I agree. Look after ours, I agree to that too. But leave the rest alone. You can't win, you have no evidence, and you need it. We are the Commonwealth. We being the ones I'm talking to, the whole lot of you, have to realise we can't live separate on this block of land. And if you try, it'll cost you. More than likely your lives. And I'm not threatening you. The people here, some people are stupid. They'll do stupid things. I'm asking you and telling you, you are required to abide by the Constitution, like it or lump it. You want to step out from there, you have no protection from anybody. No one. You are war criminals as well. That is indissoluble federation for a reason, so that we can work together for the good of every single person here. We don't need to get rid of our people. We don't need to get rid of anything. We need to correct the problems. The problems created by political parties. They're the nutcases, have created a conglomerate of garbage, and everybody's falling for it and doing what they say. Oh, if you don't do it, you'll go to jail, you'll get fined. Refuse to do it. Go to the court and advise the magistrate, male or female, whatever, or the police, just advise them, you're war criminals. You're not following the Constitution. Otherwise, show us in the Constitution where you can obstruct our freedom of travel, obstruct any person who is part of the Commonwealth, the 27 million that make up the Commonwealth of Australia. You can't obstruct us. You can't do anything without a lawful reason. When I was in the police force, if you wandered all over the road, they'd pull you over. Why? Because you were showing physical signs of not being in control of that vehicle. If you stepped out of that vehicle and your breath smelt of liquor, you could ask them to blow in this. If they said no, you didn't worry about it. Stand on one foot, don't worry about it. Where you just make all your observations on site, which is one of the 5 parts of lawful evidence. You saw him wobbling. His breath smelt of liquor. He is driving under the influence of that liquor because he was driving all over the road. Why are you trying to get him on figures on a piece of paper? because everybody's body's different. Everybody's body is affected differently by alcohol. Oh, I'll pull you over for a license check. Why? You got a computer in your car that says the owner of that car's got a driver's license, or the owner in the car hasn't got one. So if you do that computer check, you've got reasonable grounds to pull them over and say, could you produce your license? Do you, as a driver, have a license? No, you're under arrest. Not an infringement, you're under arrest. The car didn't do anything. Why do you want to seize it? Because you want to take it there and get another $1,800 or $1,000 or whatever from some towing company. No, that's not the law. You're putting in a penalty on someone before the law. Prime Minister speaking in Rockingham in Western Australia. How do you get a maggot to speak, and why is anybody standing around listening to him until the head knocked? I'll just have a quick read of this garbage that's just come up. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has awarded Justin Trudeau high praise after the Canadian PM announced his resignation. Yo, why don't you do something for us, moron? Resign as well. We don't need you. You're a liar and a fraud, and you are a war criminal. A war criminal. You're sending money to a foreign country to blow the crap out of everybody else. That's exactly what you're doing. That's a war crime. Penny got it wrong. You really got it wrong this time, mate. You paid all that money to them to blow crap out of all the other people. Why? Why are you interfering in another country's politics? You can't even sort out the problems here. How many homeless people are on the streets here? How many state houses in Western Australia are boarded up? 60 odd in Geraldton alone, just boarded up. No tradesmen, no money to fix them. Rubbish. You are building the state parliament in this town, about 25 or 27 short stay houses for native people, because there's no hospital facilities outside this town. All the emergency patients, or bad ones, have to be flown from here to Perth at the expense of who? Us, the taxpayers. Why? Because our hospital hasn't got enough staff. Why haven't they got it? You reduced the size of the hospital, the Labor Party did, down to 2 floors, waste of time, halve the amount of beds. You do all of that, and you're building this facility. I'm not knocking that facility, but it should have been paid out of the money paid to the Aboriginal corporations, which are native corporations. Should have been paid out of that to build those houses. Instead, those houses are being built out of state revenue. Why? When you had reported, is it true? I don't know, $52 billion into those corporations. Where's the money gone? On what did you spend it? Why aren't you doing this in every town so that people in the out towns can come in and have somewhere to stay? I'm talking about the native population, the original native population before white people came here. But what about the same houses for white people? I know. You've got to make your way to the hospital, try and find somewhere to sleep, usually in your car, because there's nowhere. You can't afford it. $150, $200 a night to stay in a motel. No one can afford that. Not for an extended period of time. But why isn't there provisions for white people being built as well? Why? I know. That's because Dodgy Roger is married to a native woman. So it's reported. So what do you call that, Dodgy Roger? Another crime against the people? You're sitting in criminal contempt of our Constitution. That's a war crime. So you have a lovely day and deal with your own criminal activity, because that's all you are, is a criminal. And so is every politician. You're all committing war crimes. Is that slander? No, it's the truth. Our Constitution says, lays out how you're elected and the fact you represent us. You're not representing us. Your policies that you put out are just, oh, I might do it if I think about it. How many of them do you actually follow? None. You're liars. So have a nice day.